Ratchet comes out of the pool looking like a crazed lunatic. He pounces on Perceptor and starts choking the life out of him until Jetfire and Wheeljack get a hold of him. Hey, what's up everyone? James here, and we are back, continuing our journey into Transformers Monstrosity. Before we get into this video, I want to shout out Y'all Day 8 for leaving an awesome comment on my full story video of Autocracy. He respectfully explained to me that I've been pronouncing Autocracy wrong this entire time. So I was saying Autocracy, but it's actually pronounced Autocracy. Also, shout out to King Larry, he also pointed that out. It's funny to me that I made so many videos on the first part of this trilogy, and they were the only two who pointed out to me that I was saying it incorrectly the entire time. It's mostly my fault, but again, thank you to you both. So when it comes to this next part in Monstrosity, we will start again with the Decepticons, because honestly, these following two chapters focus more on the Autobots, so I want to finish up with them. So we pick up with Scorponok and Coquillar, what seems to be days after he blew up the Taraxis mega refinery. He is surrounded by the bots who fell in the battle for the refinery. Now, if you're wondering how Scorponok and Optimus's forces, who we'll see later, survived the blast since they were all at ground zero, I can't tell you because it goes unexplained. Flint, Dille, and Chris Metzen play fast and loose here with the story. Let me know in the comments down below how you guys would explain it. Now, Scorponok orders the Decepticons not to mourn the bots who fell because they're failures, to just forget them and take the best of their parts and dispose of the rest. When one of the injured Decepticons points out that it's only by chance they survived, Scorponok disagrees. He believes it was fate. He says the strong survive and the weak are crushed beneath them. When this bot mentions that even Megatron respected those who died in his service, Scorponok tears his head apart, saying, "I respect only power." From Coquillar, we transition to Junkion. Remember in the last video, Megatron was overwhelmed by the Sharkticons and pulled into the depths of the acid sea. He comes bursting out of the sea and tells Pentius that the Sharkticons let him go. Now, two questions I want you all to ask yourself. The first question is, why did the Sharkticons let Megatron go? And second, why did Pentius remain? Like I said in the last video, there's more going on here. So Pentius, who's fascinated at Megatron's survival, tells him he may yet survive Junkion, but he must learn the planet's most critical lesson. If he doesn't, Cybertron will meet the same fate. This is where Pentius tells Megatron the history of Junkion. He explains that the Junkions were a beautiful yet narcissistic race who squandered their potential because they preferred laziness and avoided working hard to advance and grow their civilization. In time, they ended up depleting their resources, and they tried to survive by selling off their wealth. However, it was already too late. This couldn't save their world. Once the last of the Energon was gone, their great engines self-destructed, and the devastation didn't end there. The self-destruction caused a gravimetric pull that sucked the debris from space and rained down all over Junkion, shattering the last remnants of their civilization. The Junkions that survived were left to live constantly scavenging to survive, becoming the junk zombies that live today. Megatron refuses to believe Cybertron will meet the same fate. He points out that the Junkions were fools that lack vision, that he will reclaim Cybertron, and his rule, his legacy, will last forever. Pentius asks Megatron what drives him, and Megatron answers dominance, because that is the only truth in life. Which in Megatron's world, it really is. It's what has gotten him this far. Pentius praises him and says, "Good, you're learning after all." Oh my god, man, I just can't wait for you guys to see the next set of chapters, because the end of Megatron's journey here on Junkion is so damn good. Everyone who knows, please don't say anything. Oh man. Okay, so from here I want to go to the Autobots. Blaster is reporting on the explosion at the Taraxis mega refinery. The report he's broadcasting claims Optimus responded to a Decepticon attack and engaged a small group of unaligned mercenaries. So Optimus is protecting the Dinobots, keeping their identity out of the media. Blaster mentions that Optimus talked down this unidentified mercenary leader from exploding the facility, but then the new Decepticon leader Scorponok triggered the core's meltdown of the facility, and the explosion killed thousands in the surrounding area and destroyed one of the last sources of Energon. At Metroplex, Optimus is holding a funeral for the missing people and presumed dead. In his eulogy, Optimus remembers those lost, but also says to the leaders of the various factions that they can't be divided anymore and need to unite. to remember their oath to lead the people of Cybertron even when times are darkest. To no one's surprise here, Atlas doesn't seem entirely pleased with Optimus's speech. Later, he visits Optimus at his quarters, and Optimus admits that he feels like everything is falling apart and blames himself. I will give Atlas credit here. He does try to reassure Optimus. He points out that though he carries the matrix of leadership, he still has his limits. However, when Optimus states that he will protect the people, Atlas tells him he cannot protect them from the Energon shortage. He's already failed to protect them, and that the only choice left for the people of Cybertron is to leave. This angers Optimus, and rightfully so, because Atlas wants to just abandon the planet. Optimus argues that the people's destinies lie on Cybertron, that he still believes that Cybertron can be saved and things will turn around. He tells Atlas that he has the power to stop him from leaving, but Atlas reminds him that action would only help escalate the violence and go against his belief in freedom. He says, "Perhaps your last greatest command as Prime is to let your people go." We quickly go to the Tyrax's blast site. Grimlock is seemingly disoriented and wandering around looking for the other Dinobots. Back at Iacon, the Great Exodus has already begun. Blaster is interviewing Atlas, and through the interview we learn that tens of thousands of Cybertronians are using the last of their Energon to find a new home. So Optimus ended up agreeing to Atlas's request and other Cybertronians who wish to leave. Blaster asks Atlas if this is what he wanted, and he answers that it's not what he wanted, but Cybertron is nearly dead, to let the warmongers fight over the ash and wreckage. What I don't like that Atlas does here is put everyone in a basket and essentially say, "You're all the problem, you're all the warmongers, and I'm the peaceful one." When in reality, the only warmonger, the only one causing nothing but destruction, is Scorponok. Yet he doesn't directly criticize him or the Decepticons at all. Blaster asks Atlas if he's given up on Optimus's idea of unification and if he has faith in his ability to turn the situation around. Atlas says he hoped, which we know isn't true because he didn't give Optimus a real chance or help him. He uses the Tyraxis incident as to why all the factions should give up on Cybertron and leave. Optimus is listening to the interview with Bumblebee, and though he agrees with Atlas's point that if there is no Energon, there is no life on Cybertron, but he isn't giving up until he exhausts every option. He reveals to Bumblebee that he sent Jetfire and the science team to the Tyraxis site. That's where we go next, the Tyraxis crater where the explosion occurred. The science team consisting of Jetfire, Wheeljack, Ratchet, and Perceptor. They're searching for survivors and eventually go even deeper into the crater. Searching through the caverns leads them to discovering these ancient hieroglyphics on the walls depicting bots fighting against giant monsters. They wonder if it's from the Knights of Cybertron's era. Suddenly they're hit by an earthquake, sending them to the lowest level. And the discoveries don't end there. They find a vast reservoir filled with Energon in its rawest state, quickly deducing it predates the refinery by millions of cycles and could power Iacon for thousands of cycles. Perceptor and Ratchet begin to study the bed of Energon and discover this Energon is self-replenishing, something never found before. However, they also discover certain particles that their equipment can't classify. Out of nowhere, they're hit with another tremor, forcing Ratchet to fall into the Energon. Ratchet comes out of the pool looking like a crazed lunatic. He pounces on Perceptor and starts choking the life out of him until Jetfire and Wheeljack get a hold of him. Now, luckily, he does regain his senses quickly. He mentions that the Energon is primal, which overwhelmed his inhibitors, causing him to go berserk. At that moment, they hear a roar and multiple strange beasts coming toward them. They have no weapons to defend themselves, so Jetfire orders them to run. As that craziness continues, I want to transition back to Optimus at Metroplex. This is where we learn the Dinobots' origin. Optimus calls Cup in for a meeting to ask him about everything he knows about the Dinobots, because Cup, after all, is the oldest soldier, having served under a few primes. Cup explains that they were part of the Primal Vanguard under Nominus Prime. He doesn't say this, but Cup was also in the Primal Vanguard. He was just a part of a different team. When it comes to the Dinobots, they were a 6-man team of heavy weapons, demolitions, and sabotage. They were the best and had a perfect service record until they disappeared. The rumor, as Cup puts it, was they went AWOL after completing their last mission. but all mission records were classified and buried. Optimus opens up the sealed files, and we learn they were the Vanguard's covert strike force, deployed in over 200 secret missions under Optimus Prime. Their last mission had them sent to the Taraxis plains before the refinery was built. The mission was to investigate the rumors of an underground terror cell. They found no terror cells, but did encounter monstrous, cybermorphic predators living in the underground caverns. Despite their skills and heavy artillery, they had no chance of survival. So Scar, the team's medic, who before joining the team was researching dynamic alt mode adaptation theory, Scar had the team test the idea in the field. During the battle, they took on aspects of the creatures and survived. However, Scar was killed in the fight. Once they returned, Central Command gave them psych evals that suggested his death snapped something in the team, so they were quarantined indefinitely. Their new monstrous forms were studied in order to try to re-engineer Scar's dynamic adaptation. Eventually, the Dinobots staged a daring escape and have been on the run ever since. We know they were basically hiding in plain sight as gladiators in the pits of Chaos. Now there is more to the story here, and that will get revealed later. Cup tells Optimus they need to be put down, and Optimus agrees that that would be the logical thing to do, but he believes they are soldiers worth saving. Meanwhile, in the Taraxis caverns, the science team is running for their lives. The predators catch up to them, and one slashes Jetfire's chest plate. They start getting swarmed until Ratchet busts a hole into the next cavern. Ratchet notices that the creatures aren't following them, like they're afraid of something in the cavern. The team sees a giant structure deep beneath the planet's surface. Jetfire flies below to get a closer look and discovers it's not a building, it's a Titan. And not just any Titan, it's the monstrous Titan of death, Trypticon. Jetfire says, I think we just stumbled upon a heap of trouble. And that's the end of the video. Sorry to leave you guys hanging on this crazy reveal. The story gets even crazier from here. Well, if you want more Transformers content, check out my G.I. Joe vs. Transformers video right here, or my Shattered Glass video. Other than that, have a fantastic day, and always remember, every day to transform and go beyond. See you later, Beyonders.